Today I've got a quick tip to help increase the chances of a new client going ahead with you if you put in a proposal to them. And that's just reflecting on something that we all have a tendency to do. I think partly being all very British is one of the reasons for that, and partly being HR professionals, we're not naturally salespeople. But something I see an awful lot with new consultants or with people I'm working with is a tendency to under-describe what we do. And that's because what we do comes naturally to us. It doesn't seem like a big deal. So something like, a good example is a redundancy project. If you're putting a proposal in to manage a redundancy project for a client, it doesn't matter how big it is, could be 1 or 2 redundancies, it could be 20, it could be all sorts of things. You're putting a proposal to manage this for them. And a typical thing that HR consultants do is they leave out a lot of the stuff that they'd be doing. So if you've done this many times before in an employed role, a lot of what is involved in managing redundancy, you'll kind of not even think about. It'll be so obvious to you. It'll be so blatantly obvious to you that you have to do this, that and the other, that you won't even think about it. So people just then put sort of headlines of things that they'll do, or they might just say even something as just as broad and general as managing a redundancy process. And if you don't know what's involved in managing a redundancy process, if you're a client who's got no HR background at all and never done it, and you don't know what's involved, it's very difficult to gauge whether the price that the consultant is putting forward is fair and reasonable or not. Whereas if you sit and think, actually, these are all the things I actually do when I'm managing redundancy, this is everything that happens, these are all the things I do, even the stuff that seems obvious to you, even the stuff that is so kind of easy and straightforward that, you don't even think about it. Write down everything that's involved. And it's not necessarily that you literally include everything in the proposal, but if you write down everything that's involved and make sure you don't miss anything, it can help you with your pricing, because it can help you realize how much work is actually going to be involved. Because when you're doing it and you're not employed by the company, then every moment that you spend counts, obviously. So it can really help you set a fair fee, but also it can help you phrase it properly in your proposals so that a client reading it will really get how much work is actually involved. And they'll think, oh goodness, I wouldn't know all of those things. I wouldn't know how to do any of those things. And I'll be really glad to have somebody, managing it for me, and I wouldn't miss any, making sure I don't miss anything. And that sounds really valuable. If you get all that into your proposal rather than just kind of broad brush managing a redundancy process, then the client is far more likely to go ahead, because they're going to think, well, that sounds really good value, and it's going to sound like something they couldn't possibly do themselves. So just a tip, don't under-describe what you do, whether it's redundancy or managing a cheapie or anything else that you offer. Don't under-describe it. Don't miss out things that you take for granted, because to somebody who doesn't have your expertise, they're quite a big deal actually, and they're things that they would miss out on. So just make sure you don't undersell yourself, under-describe what you do, and value yourself really well. And if you're interested in starting an HR consultancy working with me, then do get in touch.